Hello there. Well, this one is called Observer Mode. So this is advice specifically for anyone who is training to be a shamanic practitioner, and also it's really useful advice if you find yourself in a particularly difficult situation. We'll go through those, don't we? So from a shamanic perspective, if you're going through a really tough, troubling time where you feel you're being stretched to your limit and you've been yanked very firmly outside of your comfort zone, this is really what an initiation is. So we all get initiated by finding ourselves in awkward situations, problematical, tricky. So I advise anyone in those situations, and people who are shamans in training, I invite you to remember the option of activating your observer mode. It's something we can all do at any time. It makes such a huge difference to our perception of the journey of life. So supposing I'm going through a really challenging time, maybe I'm really upset about something, maybe I'm really longing for something that simply is not being fulfilled, or maybe some situation that somebody else in is really bothering me mightily. What I can do is I can be aware that this is me having this experience of these thoughts, these feelings, this degree of troubledness or upset. And while that's the case, I can also be aware that there is this other aspect of myself which is looking on dispassionately without getting drawn into the drama. And in fact, when you realize this means you're actually able to inhabit two states at once. You can be going through the angst, and you can be observing yourself going through the angst. And I'm sure it's fairly clear, having said what I've said so far, of course, it is possible to shift your focus from being the one who's having these thoughts and feelings to being the one observing the one having the thoughts and feelings, which leads us inexorably to compassion. When you are in observer mode, you feel and you experience compassion for yourself, and you experience compassion for others. And it inevitably leads us to this sense of no hard feelings. Okay, somebody's been giving you a really difficult time, maybe someone's been hurting you, maybe someone has been upsetting you. When you slip into observer mode, you can witness how this feels and how you think about it. And then you can extend the observation mode out into the other, that may be from the perspective of the one that's going through the tough time, the cause or the originator. And in that state of observation mode, what we can do is we can start to extend the compassion we quite naturally feel for ourselves going through a tough time. We can extend that compassion out towards the one that is causing the us to have the tough time. Because the thing we need to remember, if somebody is hurting another person, if A is hurting B, it's a no-brainer that B is feeling the pain and being hurt. But what we tend to forget so easily, because we are all one, and that's an ultimate truth, then the person who's doing the hurting is also suffering too. They are the cause of their own suffering because they are causing hurt to another. That doesn't prevent the suffering from being real to them. So when people are hurting others, they are in a really bad way too. And so what the observer is able to do, the observer is able to feel compassion for the aspect of you that's going through this, and for the aspect of the other that is being whatever it is they're being, whether it's harsh, callous, cruel, unkind, vindictive, whatever it might be that they're doing, or just plain nasty. Even someone who's being nasty is someone in great pain, and so the observer in you can be aware of the pain in both parties. And this then enables the possibility for something else to emerge. When you become very familiar with taking on the observer role, it's a great thing to do. a wonderful opportunity if you find yourself where you have to wait because maybe you missed a train, whatever it might be, and you've got all this extra time when you can't really do anything because you're having to wait for this other thing to happen. This is a really great time to go fully into observer mode, observe your thoughts and feelings, and observe all the interactions and the actions of humans and maybe animals and even plants in your environment. Just become very much into observer mode. And then there's the possibility you might become aware of another component, which is neither the one who's going through the experience nor the one who's observing with compassion that one going through the experience, but there's actually another component too. And that's something that will arise at some point, and that starts to give us an indication about what an extraordinary journey this is in our lives. So if you've got any idea how you might choose to describe that third component, I'd be very interested to hear in the comments from you. And the only clue I will throw out is that in many religions there is something called a Trinity. So maybe that's a little hint. Okay, well, all the love to you, and may you gain great insights through the compassion that you achieve through being on the observer mode, observing yourself and observing others. All the love to you.